Good afternoon and welcome to the January 25th, 2024 meeting of the Government Relations Subcommittee. We have just a short agenda, but an important agenda to be discussing issues that we'd like to add to our letter for the legislators, a draft of which will be supplied to the full school committee at our next meeting. But first on the agenda, our approval of our October minutes, October 2023 minutes. Has everybody had a chance to read? Okay, Helen's moving them.
I'm assuming I don't think
I see
remember
Suzanne,
writing
I see
the
Suzanne,
letter,
I see
so I'm
Suzanne
assuming it was okay.
I see Suzanne seconding that motion for approval of the minutes. Is that yes or no? Oh,
I think she's frozen.
she froze.
Oh, now she's awake.
Okay. All right. Suzanne, are you seconding that motion for approval of the minutes? Oh, okay.
I'm sorry, I had to switch networks. Anyway, I'm back, I'm live, and I'm sorry.
All right, Helen, your vote on approval of the minutes.
Yes.
Suzanne?
Yes.
And I also vote yes. If you look at those minutes, we actually have the sort of beginnings of what we had discussed requesting in our budget letter. So I just want to refresh everybody's memory of those. It was reinforcing the importance of school-based early childhood programs. And I think with the announcement from the governor, that's something that we could support with a little bit more meat and specifics in terms of where it is in the budget and point them to it.
And how to go about doing it is even more important.
Yes.
Because it doesn't work getting vouchers for kids in public schools. That just doesn't work. So,
Yeah.
You know, we need to figure out another solution.
And then the permanent extension of the universal free school meals. So this one is a little confusing because the governor's certainly message on the budget says that that's fully funded. But as we've seen, that it looks like it may be underfunded for what is actually needed. So I think we can perhaps reiterate our support to fully fund that at a level that is required to support it. And I'm curious on folks' thoughts on whether we should ask for that additional money, whether we make the general statement. I don't know enough about it right now in this moment to know whether that number that was indicated by the advocate.
Sasha,
Okay. Yeah.
that might be an idea, just to see where her head is, how we're doing. I think even with her number, we'll be okay. But I'd like to understand how it is, how the process works. Do we have to submit the bills and then they pay us back? You know, how does it work?
Okay.
If there are less kids eating, is it cost less?
Local aid looked pretty flat and reasonable for Brookline. So we can certainly put it in our letter to at least support that level. Last year we had put in supporting levels at 2019, and I'm not sure if we've gotten back to 2019 levels. So do folks think we should reiterate the pre-pandemic?
I would like to increase it so
Okay.
that we don't have the deficit for next year.
Okay.
Suzanne, you have your hand up. Did you want to say something?
Sorry, I didn't see your hand, Suzanne. I can't.
I think it was a while back.
Sorry, I can't see hands, so just speak. Yeah.
I'll let you know.
So the local aid, yeah, of course we should have an increase, but also, isn't there something new that local towns, government, cities can now increase their taxes on restaurants and hotels?
So the governor has proposed that, but it has to actually get approved by the legislature. And so far they're not super thrilled with it. It would be a local option. So cities and towns could opt in to up, I think it's meals and rooms by 1% additional. I think it's a little bit more than that in the city of Boston. And then excise taxes on vehicles could be, charged a bit more. So it's sort of
Well-
they're aggressive taxes, and so that there's some, discussion on whether this
How
is
is
the
that
right-
regressive on hotels and restaurants?
not on hotel, well, because it's not income based, right? It's just a flat,
Yeah,
Yeah,
those are flat taxes.
Yeah, but you're not staying in hotels if you don't.
Right.
know.
No, I'm not complaining about the hotels, but yeah.
and even
Well,
the restaurants, I think, every town could decide to do 1/4% or a half, if, you're allowed up to 1%, you don't have to do the full.
Yeah. So
Yeah, I
to
would-
answer your question, Suzanne, like it is something that the governor's proposed. So the question is, do we want to support that when we meet with the legislature? Or do we want to include it in our draft for full school committee to look at?
I think I would. I don't know what the downside would be if it's up to the towns to, the local governments to decide.
Okay.
I mean, it could be quite a bit of money in Brookline if you think of the 3 hotels or 4 hotels, 4 hotels, 1, 2, 3, 4 that we have.
Okay. We'll include that. I had a couple questions on the MCAS. We had talked about supporting the ballot question, or we did support the ballot question when we were with mask. Do we want to continue to support that and state that to the legislature, or is it?
Isn't it dead on arrival? I mean, they didn't get it on the ballot? Or did it?
I thought it
Justin, do you
did.
know?
MCAS is on the ballot, I believe.
I thought so.
Justin's here. He could probably clarify, but I think MCAS is on the ballot. Justin?
Yeah, so as for a binding ballot question like this, like what the Thrive Act is seeking to do, the initial round of signature gathering has happened. I think we MTA set a record in collecting signatures. So now we're in a phase that allows the legislature to act on any binding ballot question that cleared that first hurdle. They have until I think the first.
First of,
First of April, maybe. And then should they not act on it, petitioners will move on to a second round of signature gathering to ensure that it's on the ballot as a ballot question. So there's absolutely a window right now to lean on and advocate for this, to lean on legislators and advocate for this. And I mean, obviously, I would support any partners to do this, and so you definitely get BU support on that, as it's obviously a massive MTA priority.
So we supported it at the mask resolutions and meeting.
Yeah.
we could just reaffirm it.
Yeah, I mean, I think we
I
should
wouldn't want
reaffirm
to
it.
take a lot of time with it. I'd rather,
Yeah, I
some-
think we can just reaffirm it.
Yeah.
I don't think we have to go into the Thrive Act specifically because that has other pieces to it beyond MCAS. But I think if we just reiterate our support for eliminating it as a graduation requirement.
Mhm.
Suzanne, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, no, I think we should definitely reaffirm it. Yeah.
Great.
Usually at the end, we have a whole bunch of things that we've talked about in the past. And
Yeah.
that's where I would put it.
So Justin is here because, well, for many reasons, he's just interested, but Justin has a bill that he'd like us to consider for inclusion in our letter to the legislators. Betsy, can you pull that up? I sent the link around to folks.
I actually read it,
Okay.
read the bill.
Yep, I did too. What are your thoughts, Helen?
I think it's a good idea. I think I mean, I'm not sure why the MTA is doing it, because it's not necessarily something in your bailiwick, but I think it's a good idea. I think we really need to examine you know, it began, the MSBA began when we did Runkle. Help me, when did we renovate Runkle? We were the first school to be under the new rules. I'd say that was probably 15, 20 years ago, something like that. Am I right, Sarah? You might remember. I can't remember.
I
the
was thinking
date.
it was at least 20 years ago, but I guess I don't know.
Yeah, that's something like that. And, you know, they put it together and they've made changes at MSBA, but I think it's time to sort of relook at the formulas, see what's happening. You know, we get very little from them. There are some communities that get 90%. And, you know, maybe they need it, but Boston gets a lot of revenue from other places. I'm not sure they need to get 90%, but whatever.
I don't think it's the Boston's, Helen. I think it's the Springfield, Fall River.
Well, Boston's a gateway city. It is considered a gateway city. But I think the idea is a good idea. There are many things that the MSBA could possibly do with the legislature, such as the geothermal wells right now that we're trying to do. If we had, if they had specified somewhere in law that you could use a playing field for that as long as you put it back, you wouldn't have to go through the whole Article 97 process, for an example. So, yeah, I think it's a good idea. I might
Justin,
even
do you have-
to be on it.
Yeah,
Sorry, Suzanne, go ahead.
No, you can go, Justin. That's okay. I can go after you.
Yeah, I'm, you know, this is sort of arising from an idea of, you know, where do we as organizations, as me representing the BEU and the school committee, find common cause, and how can we sort of leverage that with our legislators? And I know from my own experience of how you know, we've got this meeting, and I've only been to one in the past, and I can't really remember if there were particular sort of legislative priorities that were sort of advanced, but you know, I was thinking that this might be an opportunity for us to sort of like, you know, co-endorse something that we really find common cause in. And I think the beginning of this school year gave us a real taste of what the future holds as far as dealing with excessive heat. And I think that that's something that's, you know, the sort of issues and the problems facing districts and unions and across the Commonwealth vary from mold to shoddy, you know, buildings to how to deal with excessive heat. I think we in Brookline felt that really very acutely at the beginning of the year when we started with a heat wave, and we had our buildings simply heating up to untenable working conditions and learning conditions. And so that raises, I think, for us, you know, two issues: what policies might be in place to sort of like deal with that when temperatures rise to a certain temperature in a classroom. And I don't think that that's an issue for this particular body. But then the second part is like, well, are our buildings going to be equipped to deal with this? Because this is absolutely what the future holds for us. You know, the climate crisis is bearing down on all of our infrastructure, but our school buildings in particular. And so this bill creates a commission to really do like a deep look at the MSBA, and if its mission is aligning with climate goals, if its mission is really aligned with what school districts across the Commonwealth need. And it does so by first, you know, using an equity lens to make sure that we see these improvements across all districts, regardless of where they're coming from and what sort of resources they have. And I think in Brookline, and, you know, speaking on behalf of the educators of Brookline, what we really want to see is how, you know, we can accelerate the adoption of heat pumps and geothermal, you know, all of the ways that we can electrify our buildings quickly, so that we don't have to wait for an entire new building to be built to get air conditioning, because, we know that an AC unit in every classroom window is not an option. It's won't necessarily work. And of course, that just adds to, greenhouse gas emissions and the energy drain, and it's hugely inefficient. So heat pumps and other things like that are really something that we would really want to see happen. And so this commission would, there would be a way for us, and I think both of our organizations, because if you look at the participants or the people who would be on this commission, there's representatives from both the MTA and the AFT, so the two major teacher unions in the state. And I think MASC is up there too, so the Association of School Committees, as well as a bunch of other organizations. So we really think that this would be an opportunity, a sort of a win-win opportunity for us to say to our legislators, look, this is something that we know as school committee members, as we know as representatives of the people working in these buildings, that this has got to change. This is the MSBA, as this is an opportunity to really take into account what the MSBA is going to do to sort of like pivot to a future that holds these kinds of challenges. And they have recently sort of like redone their accelerated repair program, which is, I think, the program that they use traditionally for roofs and for windows and for doors.
And boilers.
And boilers, but actually, Helen, boilers have now been taken off that because
Why? Because they don't want boilers anymore.
They don't want boilers because boilers are going to be increasingly expensive. They're hard to run. They take constant repair. And of course, they use fossil fuels. And that means that they're contributing to greenhouse gas emissions. And we know that the state is going to be moving towards penalizing, building owners, municipalities, et cetera, that are not taking active steps to reduce their greenhouse gas emissions. So this, in the future, replacing a boiler right now will actually increase operating costs. And that's, and in addition to increasing greenhouse gas emissions. So they have I think they've taken boilers off the list. They've increased the amount of money to, I think, $150 million over 2 years, every 2 years for the accelerated repair program. But that's not adequate for what school districts are facing. I mean, that figure might be adequate for just Brookline, but, we want to see, this is an opportunity for us to say, we really need to see the MSBA step up and really meet the moment and make sure that its goals and its processes and its programs are really aligned with what school districts need, both to run efficiently, to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, and from our perspective, to be workplaces that are healthy. And of course, for students, ultimately places where they get to learn and places that are healthy. So this is sort of an idea of this sort of like talking to our delegation at that meeting on the 12th and saying, we're aligned on this, and we would really like to see you do what you can to push this over the finish line. As it is right now, it's a Senate bill. There's a couple of House bills that are like versions, but Jason Lewis, I think, is the lead petitioner. Yeah,
It's Senator Lewis.
Yeah, and he, I think this version sort of updates some of the dates that were on prior House bills. So of course, I think there are four reps for Brookline now, and then 1 senator. So this would be something maybe for Cynthia Cream to really take up. The BEU's e-board is on board with this as a, I just want to put this out there in full transparency, that our executive board is really receptive to this idea of ways that we could sort of find common ground and leverage that to push for the kinds of things that would benefit all of us. the BEU Reps Council, which is, you know, the legislative body, has not yet voted on this, but you know, we're meeting in a couple of weeks before the legislative meeting. And I don't think that there will be a lot of problems for an endorsement. So I'm just putting it out there as an idea. And Val and I had a couple of emails about this, and yeah, I'd love to hear more thoughts about it. And I'm sorry, Helen, you already said that it sounded like
I
a good
already
idea.
said what I think, but let's let other people talk. I can say some more.
No, I think it's you know, a great idea. I think, you know, when these things start as commissions, they take many years to actually get going. So the sooner you get the commission piece going to at least start the conversation legislatively, the better.
What's the deadline in this? Or what are they saying they want the results out by December of 2025? Oh, that's reasonable.
And all these bills have to be passed, engrossed, and signed by the governor this year. I think it's July 31st, because it's
So
the end of a.
Will this be part of the budget or a separate piece that will come out?
Currently, it's not part of the budget. Senator Lewis could certainly try to get it added as an outside section.
Because
and that-
otherwise it doesn't happen till the fall, right?
No, there's nothing in the fall. So because it's the second year of a legislative session, if it
Oh.
doesn't happen by the end of July, it can
I got
only happen in an informal without, you know, it's not going to happen probably an informal after the end of July.
Justin, do you know where the MSBA stands on this?
No, I don't. I know, I don't know where they stand on this. You said the MSBA, right?
I did.
Yeah.
They're part of it, right? They are included in the group.
Yeah. And, well, I'm not sure, since this is a commission to sort of study.
They should
the
be.
MSBA.
They should be, because you don't want them, you want them inside working. There's
Executive director of the authority or designee.
Okay,
Helen.
yeah. And I know that they have a new executive, and I
Right.
think that there's a lot of promise. And a lot of organizations are excited about the
She's very
direction.
nice and very good. Actually, she's, you know, very smart and has been there since the beginning. Mary Piketty is her name.
Oh, I thought you were talking about, I mean, Catherine Craven left a while ago. I'm like, well,
Oh,
Catherine
yeah.
left a while ago.
She's been gone.
Yeah,
a
she's like,
long
she's in
time.
higher ed now, yeah.
You know, and the
But-
person
but-
after her was Jack McCarthy, who
Yeah.
just retired.
I do think we want to start by saying, you know, thank you to the MSBA. We have gotten quite a bit of money from them, maybe not as much as you want, Helen, but we've done pretty well by
This
them.
is not, in my opinion, this is not to knock the MSBA in any way. It's to help them. Because
Right, but
if the legislature puts something in, they have to also give the money.
right. So, but it does, the MSBA has done a lot for Brookline. And we want to help them, you know, be able to do even more. So,
Definitely, let's start it with that.
Right, and also to look at 21st century solutions, right? Like the last pieces on the MSBA were all drafted a while back. There hasn't really been a big update with climate goals and things like that.
right.
Though, just to be fair to the MSBA, they do give a lot of points for lead stuff. And
Yes,
I mean, we're going to be getting about 7 points more, or 7 percentage points more, hopefully on the Pierce School, just by doing the geothermal and those things. The thing is, they could do more to facilitate, is my, you know, and that's where I would see this as being helpful.
okay.
Can you hear
So
me?
I will wordsmith, yes, I'll wordsmith a little bit on our support for this, and Suzanne, I'll make sure that I make mention of our partnership with the MSBA over time.
Yeah, thank you.
And I want to thank Justin for bringing it to our
Yes,
attention,
thank you, Justin.
you know,
Yeah, this is great. And again, I think with infrastructure and facilities, there's obviously, from our perspective, that's about working conditions and the health of our classrooms and of course the spaces in which we teach and students learn. And that's win-win, I think, for us all. And I think, operationally, obviously, there's a lot to gain with leveraging what we can to move away from fossil fuels. Obviously, this helps the town meet its fossil fuel reduction goals and creates a really robust climate resilient public infrastructure, which is great. So yeah, thanks for your time. And I don't know, ahead of the meeting, if I can't remember how exactly the meetings go, but if there's an agenda put out, if we want to
Yeah.
huddle about that at all, or to talk this out about how it might be presented, but is that a conversation for now, or do you want to sort of circle back sometime later?
I
We
can
can
tell you
circle
what-
back, yeah. Or you
Yeah.
want to tell, go ahead, Helen. I
That's what
mean,
we've done in the past. Certainly the BU president is invited to come to the meeting every
Mhm.
year. We usually go through the list. We send it out ahead of time, the letter with our legislative priorities. So to give them time to think about it. We've even had Jake Auchincloss come twice now, which is really pretty amazing. Barney Frank never showed up. Sorry. But so we'll go through our list, of what's there, and what we would do when we come to this particular issue. We can talk about how, you brought it to our attention, we want to support it, and then give you some time to talk about it too, if you'd like. Does that?
And one other thing we did, at least last year, maybe the year before, is we let them speak too.
Yeah, we did that in the beginning, I think.
In the beginning, we let them
What
introduce.
their things are, what
Right,
they're looking at. But yeah, thank you. That went first usually, yeah.
so we let the legislators talk about what they were working on and what they were seeing. But Justin, what I was also going to say was that when the letter comes together, it will be presented at the next school committee meeting. So I'll also send you a copy of that when the draft is done in the next couple of days and before it goes to the school committee packet.
Okay, great.
Because Justin, actually, this isn't the only thing that teachers should care about. Is the Chapter 70 funding, and all that is also probably something that we have in common.
Right.
in
Yeah,
terms of
exactly.
what's
Yeah,
important.
yeah.
Local
And
aid.
I think I've asked, yeah, I agree with that. And this might be a start. I look forward to finding other ways where we can, again, leverage what we share and identify as common cause, and really, make sure we're pushing the legislature and by extension, the federal government to ensure equitable funding and all of the things that we want. So great. I'll look forward to hearing from you, and see you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you, Justin. The last one that I had to talk about was resolution 1 from MASC. And if you don't recall what it was fully funding METCO. It was a full and stable funding source for METCO. And we supported it unanimously for the conference. And I'm wondering whether we want to include it in our letter to the legislature. It was from Arlington School District calling on the governor and legislature to create stable funding structures to support METCO and its partner districts that fully funds the support provided by METCO and the cost of providing services delivered by METCO's partner districts.
I definitely would.
Okay.
Yeah, I would vote for that, yeah.
Okay.
And what about these, I guess these aren't
I think,
things in the
it's
budget.
cute. Oh, okay.
Well, I just wanted to ask, she's saying she wants to put money into literacy. She wants to put money into universal pre-K. Do those have to go through through legislation, or is that just in her budget? Or they-
They will ultimately go through both processes.
Okay.
No, I don't think so. Not if she's doing it just the way that they do it now. If there's something that changes, like if she makes I would think, and Val, you probably know more than me, but I would think unless we do, universal pre-K, which would then involve everybody, certainly then there would be legislation about that, but she's just adding money to pots of piles that are there. I think
I'll confirm if that's what she did. I thought that there was language as well, but I'll check.
maybe I'm wrong, and send it to me if there is, I'd be
Okay.
interested.
I thought there was an outside section as well.
Mm.
I'll-
know,
I'll pull it.
I may even
Mike-
have it. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, most of that they say like for gateway cities, but, and we're not a gateway city, I get that, and that's fine. But, we do have low-income children, and so, I'm wondering if there is a suggestion somehow, or an awareness that, low-income children are in every district, and how do they access that money, or how does the district access that money for them?
Right. We could request that it get expanded. Yeah.
Well, no, the problem is the way it comes through. So there's money for low-income students through vouchers. The problem is there's no place in Brookline that accepts vouchers. Okay, not even the schools at this point. Well, some of the extended days now are. I know Heath does. Not sure if Driscoll is going to be accepting vouchers or not. We ended up doing scholarships for 40 kids this year in pre-K. And I think it's the right thing to do. These are kids who are at risk, mostly from the housing developments. The problem is if there were a way to support that somewhat in a grant or something like that for low-income kids, so that it could be subsidized, because there's so many rules and regulations around vouchers. They have to be full-time, full year. Well, schools don't work that way, but we can give these kids something really important and good, and we are doing it, but it's starting to cost, So that's the trick of how to find something that can be done. I've talked about, I'm on the advisory council for the early childhood, and I've talked about it for years that it just doesn't work, the system the way it is. The EEC system doesn't work for schools. I can
And
go
what
on
about-
more.
What about money for literacy programs? I think that again is being really targeted towards gateway cities, but
I
again,
didn't see that. That I didn't see.
It was in her state of the state address.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but probably what it is for high quality early childhood programs. If I had to guess, the literacy stuff, but maybe not. Maybe
It's
it's
for
high quality
evidence-based instruction.
Yeah, I
in
think
elementary
kindergarten.
schools.
I think
Yeah.
so.
Yes.
Oh, so then it'll be a grant through the state, I
Yeah, I
imagine.
don't. Yeah,
She hasn't announced it. I don't, yeah.
I mean,
mean,
people
she
got
announced
all
it in
Those are the
state.
details. It's great she's putting more money and it's needed. There's no doubt.
Just pulling up.
I mean, people got all excited about her state of the state address. She spent
So
a lot of
there's
time.
a $30 million investment in the budget to expand on programs run by the state's K-12 education department.
So that won't require anything from the legislation. That'll just be grant that we apply to DESI or something.
Literacy launch. I'm just trying to pull up the actual language. Five-year initiative called Literacy Launch.
$50 million over 5 years. That's
30 million.
That's nothing. I'm sorry.
We could spend that.
It's bumpkiss.
According to the Literacy Launch webpage, the initiative will accelerate the timeline for school districts and early education programs to adopt high-quality literacy materials and provide technical support, coaching, and professional development to educators.
Oh,
It will also update approval criteria and accelerate review timelines for teacher education programs to require evidence-based early literacy training.
we could support that. That
Yeah.
is actually something that could come back to us. I mean, even if it didn't come back to us, it still is important, but
I really feel like the way to advance literacy is through the professional development organization, the professional development, because, you know, we keep on changing what programs we want. And every time we put a lot of money into a new program, I get nervous because, you know, how long is that one going to last, right? So if there's teacher training as a part of what we're doing, I feel like that that lasts longer.
Yeah, so this includes technical support, coaching, and PD.
I like that.
Suzanne?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if our representative or senator will have anything to do with it, but if they are approving the budget, you know, I would at least like them to know that we're all for this, and maybe 30 million really isn't going to go very far.
yeah,
Um,
I'm sure Newton will be for this too, because I think they're changing their, they got called out in the newspaper, so I'm
They've
pretty
gotten a
sure.
lot of, yeah, they've gotten a lot of bad press recently,
Yeah.
more
they have
than
a lot-
us.
They have a lot going on right now.
Well, they do. Do they have school tomorrow, or are they still on strike?
I think they're
I-
still on strike. I just saw earlier that they have a hearing tomorrow, another hearing in court tomorrow.
Oh, wow.
6 days, wow.
There were a few of them picketing in front of the State House today when I walked by.
There was a whole big thing at the State House, not just a few. There was a whole rally.
Okay, I must
From
have seen
Newton?
just the tail end of it.
But that was from Newton? Why would they go to the State House?
Is Justin still here? He might know better, but my understanding was that it was to bring attention to the for their ability to strike,
Oh,
to sort of change the law on their underlying ability to strike, and also I think just to get more
attention.
legislative attention, because you know people are at the State House, so you can speak to more legislators if you
Mhm.
are at the building as opposed to not at the building.
So going back to where we were though, if we could include, you know, something about those monies for literacy
Yeah,
and early childhood, you know, sort of, you could actually have them as two separate or one, depending on how you want to put it together.
okay.
But really emphasizing the need for a better way for public schools to be able to access the early childhood funding.
Yeah. Okay. Include
'Cause
that.
we're
I'll
part of
include.
Because you can put this in because we're part of the mixed system, mixed delivery system, quote unquote, that's what they call it. David, drive carefully.
David on his phone again. God.
Yeah, he was on his
Am
phone.
indeed, yes.
Any other items to include?
So could you remind us what's there? Because right now I'm not looking at it and
I'm looking at last year's priorities.
Yeah, I mean, so we have. I think Betsy's been
Do you
taking
want me to,
good
do you want me
notes.
to, I have been, do you want me to pull up last year's to look at, or?
Yes, and sure, because some of these
It
have
might
been
go up.
accomplished and some of them will stay on.
Oh, and remember to try and update them on what's happening in the system at the beginning, because they like to know that.
Yeah, that's all up here.
Yeah. I think last year when we met with them, we didn't know if we'd have a Pierce school, right?
Yep.
Right.
Oh,
So chapter
Okay.
70.
is there a way of us finding out what the full funding of the Student Opportunity Act means for us? Is it the same still that we get $50 per student?
I think it is, but I'll call and find out.
Okay. I mean, I don't think we can go back to 2019 and the 2025, 2024.
No, I don't think we can do that,
I
but
think so we need to just we can thank them for
Yeah.
fully funding, the Student Opportunity Act. And I think there's also something in there about special ed and funding.
yes. And do you want to keep that or not?
So, I think this had to do with we're told.
There were two
14.
items on special ed. One was on the inflation rate that occurred with tuitions last year. I mean,
Yeah, one of them had to do-
I think number 4 we pull out because it's passed at this point. I have not heard Dr. Guillory or anybody
The only
speaking about.
thing that I'm not, did they take care of the increases in the middle of the year?
What, the 14% you mean?
No, and so when they do restructuring of a special education school, they can determine that the people and the special education school requests it because they want to charge more tuition. But they can start that at any time during the year.
Right.
And we, in order for us to do planning, we need to know ahead of time. And not to be stuck, with a bill in January.
All right, we'll ask Lisa and Susan.
Yeah.
Universal pre-K, we'll still advocate for that.
Maybe put in with that part, some of the stuff we were talking about, the early childhood stuff.
Yeah, add early childhood. Fair share, we can take out, we can thank them.
Thank them for putting some of the monies into public schools.
Yep.
Because they had put it previously, originally it was going into transportation and higher ed, no? And then we got a bit of it.
We did
Am
get
I
a bit
wrong?
of it. And no, you're right. And we're getting more. I mean, it's being utilized more this year as well.
So thank them for that. for
Perhaps,
realizing their needs.
perhaps to urge passage of the Municipal Empowerment Act, which Governor Healy recently introduced, that would allow municipalities more flexibility to raise revenue, not through property taxes, but through things like motor vehicle excise taxes, hotel tax,
Yep.
food surcharge tax.
We did that earlier, David. We were going to add that to the letter. We had a series of new adds to the letter, and that is one of them. So that will be included.
All right, very good.
We're just going through last year's now to see if there's what to keep and what has gone away. So I think we can keep this MCAS moratorium
Right.
sort of the same and just take out the Thrive Act piece. So it's not a moratorium that so it's not the moratorium because that was for COVID.
Right.
We support the MCAS.
Just keep it as MCAS and take out moratorium.
Yeah. But we support eliminating the MCAS graduation requirement.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's what the high stakes part of it.
Yeah. Either as a ballot question or through legislative action.
And I'm
Maybe
taking
not.
separate notes, Val, also, so
Okay.
I'll get them in.
No, you're doing a
Nine-
good job there,
Yes,
Betsy. I'm watching you.
Betsy, you're amazing. 9 is done. There's no more
Yeah,
offsetting.
we can't talk about COVID.
Open meeting law is done. We can
Yeah,
thank them.
that's been, put that at the end, as a small thing at the end.
Just as a
to-
thank you, though, it's already been done,
Yeah,
or it's done for some number of years anyway.
I'm here to learn. And so can you just explain to me, is this a document that gets passed on, or are these talking points when we meet with them, or how does this work?
So it will get converted into a letter that will go to them in advance. And then we'll talk through our priorities with them when they're at the meeting. Yeah.
Thank you.
Mhm.
we do this every year. Sarah, actually, Frank Smizek started it years ago, before he was their representative. And it's been really, they're very grateful for it too, because it gives them understanding of what's going on in the district.
So 11 is universal school meals, which we're just gonna check with Sasha on how to update that, or if it needs updating.
We should say thank you for what they've
Yeah,
done.
thank you.
Yes,
And
it's a
you know,
thank you, and then we'll update if we need any additional
And do
asks.
more.
Yeah.
if not, just put it to thank you, and don't give a whole big thing unless we don't need to include all the stuff we wrote before.
I feel like we've made some progress this past year.
Yeah, a
have.
lot of things
Yeah.
happened.
Yeah.
MSBA reimbursement rate. Do you want
And
to keep
they
that,
actually
Helen?
did,
We
did
yeah, we did
increase
get
it.
that. Yeah.
and they they did it the same day that we got approved. So we ended up also getting it, because of that, $7 million more in the project, or more,
Right.
I think it's 7. Now check the amount.
Yes, I will, yeah.
But this was generally for the rate, right? This wasn't,
Yeah. But what he was talking about for the MSBA, the first part, the thank you. and
right, so
Pierce
I understand
mentioned-
thanking for Pierce, but are we still looking overall as a policy issue for the MSBA?
Well, yeah, I mean, he wanted to
Yeah,
do,
the one that Justin was,
Well, that's a slightly different, right? So that's a commission. So this is
Right.
straight up rate. And the other is a more holistic commission to look at criteria, pieces of projects,
repairs, yeah.
repairs,
I would
climate issues.
raise it as a way to, and
Did anybody else just lose Helen?
Yeah, Helen, I'm not hearing you.
She just went off the screen as far as I can see. Yeah, we just lost Helen.
I mean, I personally am not sure whether we should be advocating for this like as a matter of policy. Of course, it was great that we got a higher rate than we were expecting to, but there's always this push-pull within MSBA over how many projects do you fund versus to what extent do you fund each project. And
Helen's back.
somewhere down the line, we could suffer, or somebody else worthy could suffer from advocating for a higher rate if it means cutting projects.
Helen?
I'm sorry, I got my thing went out, I think, in the middle of what I was saying. I'm not sure how far I got.
So we're still wondering what your thoughts were on keeping this as a policy question or not, or an ask or not of upping the rate.
I would wait with that because I think this commission should
All right.
do it.
Okay,
I think we
So-
should thank them, tell them that the reimbursement went up. Thank you to whatever mechanisms they were able to help with.
okay. And then support Senator Lewis's bill.
And then what I was trying to say before, to talk about this bill that Jason Lewis is putting forward, that the BEU is supporting, as an enhancement to what the MSBA is already doing.
Yeah,
And that is not a criticism of MSBA. I think that's important. But it's sort of, it's been X amount of years. And it's time to sort of see if are there things that could be done better, could help districts more, that wouldn't even cost anything.
Okay. And then Betsy, you have notes on the new ads that we talked about earlier, right? The
Yes,
new
yeah,
additions.
I have those on my desktop. I'll fold those in
Okay.
later.
So folded into that at some point, there is an issue that they may need to weigh in on with Pierce. What I was talking about with the geothermal wells in Article 97. And I'll know that more, I think, tomorrow after this meeting. But if we do have to go to town meeting and to the legislature to get a Article 97 dispensation, we're going to need their help. So it's a question mark.
Okay.
But I think tomorrow I'll know more. Oh, Metco, didn't we put Metco up in the top?
We did put Metco funding up top.
Yeah. Did Steps get money this year? I don't know. From the legislature.
Not yet. And what I've heard is that legislators are being told that local earmarks are unlikely to be included in this year's budget. It's happened about 15 years ago, where program earmarks were allowed. So something that was sort of statewide or regional, but things like Steps to Success in Brookline would not have been allowed. So I don't mean that's I think going to be a question for them is what they're hearing on.
Yeah,
if
let's
any.
ask them about that. Thank them for the prior funding. Well,
Yeah.
Metco was level funded, wasn't it, last year?
Yes.
Uh.
What they're hearing about earmarks for this coming for FY25. Local earmarks. I don't think we need to include it in the letter, but just in our notes for ourselves during the conversation.
Okay.
Do we know why the state has less revenue this year?
I don't know. I saw that they said we did. But is
Yeah.
it this year or projected for next year?
I think it's both, because they did what is it? C cuts, the
9 C cuts.
9C, thank you. I knew there was something with the C.
Yeah, it's current revenue for this fiscal year and then projected revenue that they'll have for the upcoming fiscal year.
And why is it that we have less?
I mean, it's a combination, right, of all taxes that the state receives. I'm not sure why we're lower than we have been historically. It may have been also just an off projection that they made for this fiscal year. And of course, we're also out of one-time money. All of the one-time money is
the ARPA, yeah.
all the ARPA money is done in September of this year.
But the state
But-
didn't, is that?
Well, the state had a lot of it and is getting spent down now.
Hmm.
But this is actual revenue, so this is income tax, other taxes that the state
Yeah,
raises are off
Is-
by like $1 billion. We're not talking a little amount of money.
that's not
no.
chump change. Yeah,
No, off by $1 billion.
I'd like to ask them how they, why that happened.
What they understand about the consensus revenue number.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
But it'll provide for a conversation.
Yep.
Is Jake attending virtually? Is that what he's doing? Auchincloss?
He is, as of right now, he's attending virtually. Dana Hanson, his legislative
Yeah.
director, will be here in person.
So will he be on the whole time, or will he come on at the beginning
Um,
and say?
They're not
Virtually.
clear about that yet. I'm still kind of waiting for some additional details from his office. He wants to, they're just trying to figure out his calendar.
And everybody else is confirmed, Betsy?
I haven't heard from Representative Honan yet, but everyone else other than that is confirmed, including Representative McGregor, whose father worked for the town, and so he went to Driscoll School.
Yes, he did.
Yeah,
I'm
Who's
seeing,
this?
I'm seeing him tomorrow morning. He represents precinct 16.
yeah, and West Roxbury and Precinct 16 in Brookline, so he's the new rep there.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh.
isn't that great?
And he went to Driscoll?
He went to
did.
Driscoll, yeah, his father worked for the town.
He was a material fees good
Yeah.
at Driscoll.
Oh,
I'm
Huh.
actually gonna see him tomorrow. I didn't know he was coming, so I'll chat with him about Brookline too.
Great.
Do we invite Markey and Warren, their offices?
I did not, I didn't have records that we ever have, to be honest with you, but
never have.
yeah.
Could we? I mean, it's a bit late, but could we to see if staff would come?
I certainly could, yeah. Would you like me to?
Yes, please.
Okay.
I mean, they're invited to come on virtually, I would suppose. Though it's gonna get lengthy at this point, but be great to see them.
It's an election year. I may
I'll
decide-
reach out to Kevin as well to make sure that he can attend. You said Kevin hadn't responded to you yet, Betsy?
That's right. That's right.
Okay.
Not yet. And I can reach out. So whatever you prefer.
Mhm.
Who's running this year?
When is our legislative meeting again?
Monday,
see,
February
the
12th. Yeah.
Who's up? Are either of our senators up this year? Do we know?
I don't think so, actually.
Okay.
But I don't know for a fact.
Jake's always up, so.
2020, I think Markey's up in 2026.
Okay.
I forget when. And Warren was up in 22, right? So does that mean she's 28?
Yeah, I guess.
I think she was up in 22.
Mhm.
Is Cindy Cream up?
So they're always up. Our local are always up every 2
No, but
years.
that's the representatives. Senators are Honan
Same,
in
no,
Massachusetts.
same, 2 years. It's also 2
2
years.
years?
Same. Yeah.
Oh,
I didn't realize that.
I
Yeah.
didn't either.
Yeah, on the state level, they're all 2 years.
I think that's too often, but they probably wouldn't disagree.
Okay, is there
All
anything
right.
else that we have to do today, guys?
There is not, Helen. Do you have anything else? All right.
I don't think so. And if something comes up, we can always, share it among ourselves.
Okay. Yeah.
Put it on the list, but I think
Bring it
we
to-
hit MSBA, we hit special ed, we hit early childhood, chapter
We hit
70.
new initiatives for municipal aid and early childhood and literacy. So I think we
I'll
covered.
fold everything into the shared document, clean it up, and then reshare it again so we can all
Okay.
Okay,
continue to edit it.
Appreciate it, Betsy. Thank you.
Sure.
All right. I think we're done. Have a good night, everybody.
thank you.
Thanks.
Night.
Good night.